A tennis court walks into history, Arthur Ashe. A typewriter walks into history, Maya Angelou's words. Arthur Ashe broke barriers on the tennis court. He used his spotlight to fight for justice. He also championed public health and research. Maya Angelou turned pain into poetry through words. She made resilience sound like a revolution. Different crafts, same courage. Both challenged racism with boldness. Both demanded dignity for every person. They taught the world how to stand taller. Their stories remind us success isn't just trophies, nor just bestsellers. It's about lifting others when you rise. Stay with us. We'll trace their bold moves, their words that won't quit the fight, and the quieter bravery that changed lives. Stick around. This is Two Icons, One Story. In 1943, a boy named Arthur Ashe was born in Richmond, Virginia. It was a time and a place of deep division. The world was at war. The South was segregated. Laws and customs drew a hard line between black people and white people. Life was not the same for everyone. Young Arthur grew up within these boundaries, told where he could and could not go. But inside him, a quiet strength took root. On the public courts near his home, he found his first love: tennis. Courts for black players, separate from the others. His father was strict but caring. He taught discipline, respect, and the power of composure. Arthur learned to control his emotions and channeled his energy into the sport. Every swing, every sprint, an act of focus. Shut out from many tournaments, he traveled to find competition. The struggle forged resolve, and a game built on strategy, precision, and quiet power. The world started to take notice. In 1968, Arthur Ashe achieved something extraordinary. He won the US Open, the first African-American man to do so. A personal victory and a historic moment. 2 years later, he traveled across the globe and won the Australian Open. Each win echoed discipline and relentless preparation. Calm, composed, in control. In 1975, he stepped onto Wimbledon's hallowed grass to face Jimmy Connors. With a masterful plan, he baffled the favorite and won. The first, and still the only, black man to lift the Wimbledon singles trophy. More than a title, it was grace under pressure, intelligence as art. Arthur Ashe understood his platform was bigger than a tennis court. Fame gave him a voice, and he used it for those without one. He fought apartheid, a system of enforced racial segregation more brutal than the one he'd known as a child. He urged sports to take a stand. He helped push for South Africa's ban from international tennis, pressuring governments and governing bodies. He was even arrested outside the South African embassy. Principle over comfort. He widened the court's doors for others, co-founding the National Junior Tennis League. After heart surgery, he learned he had contracted HIV from a transfusion. In 1992, he told the world, choosing candor over fear. He spent his final year fighting stigma, urging compassion, research, and care for all. Arthur Ashe redefined what leadership in sports could be. More than trophies, he was a man of conscience. True leadership isn't the loudest voice. It's the most principled. From 1943, through years of discipline, to history-making wins. US Open 68, Australian Open 70, Wimbledon 75. Beyond the baseline, anti-apartheid action and access to the game for youth. Every step left a lasting imprint. We remember integrity, calm dignity in every challenge, and strength of heart and mind. His story lives on, guiding young athletes to think beyond winning. A single life, with quiet conviction and compassion, changed a game and helped change the world. His legacy of courage still shines. Maya Angelou's voice was a gift to the world. It was a voice that could soothe, inspire, command attention. It carried the weight of history, the lightness of hope in every syllable. Before she became the icon we celebrate, she was Marguerite Annie Johnson, born April 4, 1928. Her journey began with a profound silence. This silence, born of childhood trauma, became the crucible where her voice was forged. In that quiet, she discovered the power of the written word. Her early years were marked by upheaval and hardship. After her parents' separation, she and her brother Bailey went to live with their grandmother in Stamps, Arkansas. There, she first faced the harsh realities of racial injustice. But stamps also gave her solace in literature. She devoured books, found friends and mentors within their pages. Her grandmother, Annie Henderson, was a pillar of strength and resilience, teaching dignity and faith by example. These experiences laid the groundwork for themes of struggle and survival in her work. At 8, she suffered a trauma that left her selectively mute for nearly 6 years. She believed her voice could cause death, so she chose silence. During that time, Mrs. Bertha Flowers entered her life. Mrs. Flowers saw the bright mind behind the quiet face and coaxed Maya back to sound. She introduced her to poetry, encouraged her to read aloud, and reminded her that words were meant to be heard. This mentorship was a turning point, reopening the door to vocal expression and setting Maya on a path to her destiny. The reawakening wasn't just speaking again, it was discovering the purpose of her voice. She had spent years observing the world, listening intently, and absorbing others' stories. The silence sharpened her senses and filled her with empathy and understanding. When she began to speak and later to write, it was with clarity and wisdom beyond her years. The little girl, once silenced by trauma, began to understand her voice could heal, not just for herself, but for countless others who felt unseen and unheard. Before she became a literary titan, Maya Angelou embraced the world of performance with passion and grace. As a young woman, she discovered a love for song and dance. Her talents took her to the nightclubs of San Francisco, then to stages across Europe. She toured with a production of Porgy and Bess, experienced different cultures, and honed her skills as a performer. It taught her about stage presence, timing, and connecting with an audience. She learned to command a room, to use her body, and to use her voice to tell a story without a single written word. This foundation later infused her public readings with captivating theatricality. The turning point arrived in 1969. Encouraged by James Baldwin, she wrote, "I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings." The book was a revelation. It chronicled early childhood through to the birth of her son at 16, exploring racism, trauma, and identity with unflinching honesty. Its raw power and poetic prose resonated with readers, becoming an instant classic and a landmark in American literature. It gave voice to the silent suffering of so many and testified to the resilience of the human spirit. Caged Bird was not just a personal triumph. It was a cultural milestone. It opened doors for other Black women to tell their own stories unapologetically and in their own voices. A life marked by pain was transformed into art that inspires hope. She followed with 6 other autobiographies. Readers saw her grow as an artist, an activist, and a woman. She offered lessons in courage, forgiveness, and the relentless pursuit of self-discovery. Her genius wasn't confined to prose. Maya Angelou was a poet. Still I Rise. Phenomenal Woman. They became anthems of empowerment around the world, particularly for Black women. Her language was accessible yet profound, using simple rhythms and powerful imagery to convey struggle, pride, and unwavering hope. You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise. Those words became a rallying cry, a declaration of survival echoed by millions, and cemented her as the people's poet. Maya Angelou's influence extended far beyond the pages of her books. She was a vital voice in the civil rights movement, a passionate advocate for justice and equality. During the 1960s, she worked alongside towering figures like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., serving as Northern Coordinator for the Southern Christian Leadership Conference. She also developed a close friendship with Malcolm X, assisting his efforts to build the Organization of Afro-American Unity. She wasn't just a writer observing from the sidelines, she was an active participant in the struggle for freedom, lending her voice, her organizational skills, and her unwavering commitment to the cause. Her activism was deeply intertwined with her art, each one fueling the other. Her global stature reached a new zenith on a crisp January day in 1993. Standing on the steps of the U.S. Capitol, she delivered "On the Pulse of Morning" at the inauguration of President Bill Clinton. It was a moment of immense national and historical significance. Her commanding presence and resonant voice captivated a global audience as she called for unity, responsibility, and a new era of peace. The poem was a plea to acknowledge our shared history and to move forward together. That single performance introduced her powerful message to a new generation and solidified her role as a moral compass for the nation, a poet laureate of the human experience. Throughout her life, Maya Angelou was showered with accolades, yet she wore them with humility and grace. She received the Presidential Medal of Freedom from President Barack Obama in 2011. She was awarded more than 50 honorary degrees and won 3 Grammy Awards for her spoken word albums. For her, these were not endpoints but platforms. Each honor amplified her message of hope and encouraged others. She saw recognition not as a celebration of her own greatness, but as testament to the power of the human spirit to overcome adversity. Perhaps one of her most cherished roles was that of a teacher. She served as a professor of American Studies at Wake Forest University, where she was simply known as Dr. Angelou. She mentored countless students, not just in literature, but in life. She taught them to find their own voices, to speak their truths with courage, and to live with compassion. She loved to gather people, to cook for them, and to share stories, transforming her home into a classroom and her conversations into life lessons. Her generosity ensured her wisdom would be passed down through generations, a living legacy of empowerment. Even after her passing on May 28, 2014, Maya Angelou's presence remains profoundly felt. Her words did not die with her. They continue to live on in classrooms, in the hearts of people who turn to her for wisdom and strength. Her life story serves as a powerful blueprint for resilience. She taught us that our past does not have to define our future. Scars can become sources of strength. A single determined voice can challenge injustice and change the world. Her books are still required reading. Her poems are still recited at moments of great joy and sorrow. Her interviews are still shared as timeless guidance. The relevance of her work today is undeniable. In a world still grappling with division, inequality, misunderstanding, her calls for empathy and unity are more urgent than ever. She taught us to see the humanity in one another, to listen to stories different from our own, to recognize that we are more alike than we are unalike. Her legacy is not just in the art she created, but in the connections she forged through that art. She built bridges with her words, inviting everyone to a table of mutual respect and understanding. Her life is a testament to love and courage overcoming hatred and fear. She showed us the importance of being a rainbow in the clouds for others, a source of light and hope. She learned this from people like Mrs. Flowers. She spent her life being that rainbow for millions she would never meet, offering solace through her poetry and strength through her story. This is perhaps her most enduring gift. A life lived in service to others, dedicated to lifting people up. She encouraged us all to find our own voices, to use them not for personal gain, but for the betterment of our communities and the world. Her legacy is best summarized in her own simple philosophy. She famously said, "Do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better." This quote encapsulates a life of growth, learning, and perpetual self-improvement. It is not a call for perfection, but an invitation to evolve. Remain open. Learn from mistakes. Strive to be kinder, wiser, more compassionate. Maya Angelou's voice may be physically gone, but her echo, calling us all to do better, will resonate for generations to come.